else wish to be recognized? Sir, Ms. Tiffany?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I would just pose a question. So Resolution Copper could provide up to 25% of our domestic demand. Do you have projects that you support that can replace that?
The gentleman's been recognized. With all due respect, I'm not going to go through a Q&A with you.
I'll treat it as a rhetorical question. No, it's fair enough, Mr. Chairman. But that's the question that's out here, and we were asking this a couple months ago. What projects do you support? Oh, we can't support this one. Every single time a project comes up, there is some reason why it cannot be done. And it's becoming the question, what projects do you support? You got to start telling the American people what projects you're going to support in regards to this, because otherwise you just become more dependent on the rest of the world, including bad actors that are out there. America has went in a wrong direction since January 20th of 2021, and it was very clear to the world if people did not believe candidate Biden's words in 2020, they certainly saw it immediately on January 20th of 2021 when the Keystone Pipeline was shut down. The pipeline of sending people up from Panama to America was opened up. The exact opposite of what the American people had hoped for. It was followed up by removing sanctions on the Nord Stream line, sending the message to the Germans, hey, you're going to be just okay. As I think my colleague from California stated, and I'll put a finer point on it, I think it was just a couple months ago, the #1 search over in Germany was how to cut firewood. Think about it. #1 search going into search engines is how are we going to cut firewood? As a result of the Germans' dependence on the Russians, which they were warned about. Then we go to the disastrous withdrawal in Afghanistan, once again showing American weakness. And then let's just go to the Midwest here, where my colleague just to my left here and where we reside. We had blackout threats for the first time in the state of Wisconsin. Our regional grid operator, no partisan organization that is, they came out for the very first time and said that you are under threat of blackouts in Wisconsin. Why? Because we went to intermittent sources of power. And now we have the Nemadji Trail project. Urge you to search for that project that is proposed for Superior, Wisconsin, that's going to use clean burning, affordable, reliable natural gas to produce electricity to make sure that the lights can be on 24 hours a day as some of the major utilities continue this push to having intermittent sources of power. And then, of course, we have Line 5 that runs across from the twin ports of Superior and Duluth, all the way across northern Wisconsin, northern Michigan. And you have a governor over in Michigan who wants to shut down Line 5 and stop a rebuilding of that line, which would make it much safer through the Mackinac Straits. Weakness, dependence on others. You don't think the Chinese are not watching this? They see this decline of America. And that really is the question before all of us at this point. We all know the 20th century was an American century. The greatness of America, the greatness of the ideas that were put in place at the founding led to the tremendous prosperity in this country. But the question is now in the 21st century, whose century is this going to be? With the decline of America, especially the rapid decline over the last year and a half, with an administration that wants to make us more dependent on other countries around the world, that goes over and begs the Saudis for oil, it's clear the direction that we're going in. President Xi sees that weakness as he gets his unprecedented third term, as he has squelched freedom in Hong Kong, as he's going after the Taiwanese, as he has continued to produce products that we consume in America, including those wind turbines and solar panels with slave labor in Western China. President Xi sees our weakness. When are we going to stop? When are we going to stop and reassess this transition to taking America to a terrible place that is not going to benefit all Americans? All we're asking here is a little bit of transparency, a little bit of accountability. Let's get the information before us of what has happened and the purpose of this ROI. With that, I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Gentleman yields. I would disagree with the gentleman. I don't think the country started going bad after January 20th. It started to go bad after January 6th. And I think the American people collectively have given us a pause. And I hope we take advantage of
Will the
fact.
gentleman yield?
I was actually taking a privilege, but I will yield a small part of the privilege because I was going to move on to see who else wanted to talk about the resolution.
Yeah, I would only ask two things in regards to January 6th. Why are Speaker Pelosi's records not available to the committee that were her communications on January 6th? Why was the minority not allowed to be able to name their members to it? And by the way, why is there not a full review of the riots of the Summer of Love of 2020? If we're going to do a comprehensive review, let's do a comprehensive review. The American people are fair-minded.
Okay, reclaiming my time. Ms. Tiffany, we're just going to have to agree to the fact that I don't follow the same social media outlets that you do. And so I don't have privy to your information. And more importantly, I'm not sure I'd want to follow that social media angle. We just disagree. I think it's a philosophical disagreement. Factually, that's another issue that if the facts aren't going to rule, it doesn't matter. I mean,
With all due respect, Mr. Chairman, just ask Speaker Pelosi one question. Why will she not share her communications from January 5th and 6th with the committee?
I'll ask that question if you will ask some of your colleagues to waiver their privilege and turn over phone records and other communications dealing with January 6th, sitting colleagues in this building. If you would do that and go specifically and they respond positively,